Monsieur Neuvillette is getting his first rerun in the second phase of version 4.5. So after 3 months, it's finally another chance for all the Neuvie owners to become Neuvie havers, and for me to pronounce Monsieur incorrectly again. So after accidentally getting him back in 4.1, which turned out to be the best thing to ever happen to me, I believe I have the expertise to help you figure out if it's worth all your hard and primo gems. So with that, let's answer the question if you should pull for Neuvillette. Yes. Neuvillette is a 5-star Hydro Catalyst user. Well, on paper anyway. Ask any Neuvie haver, they'll tell you. This man is in fact 6-star.
This is 6-star energy, man.
And they're not wrong. Neuvillette is a monster. In all my time I've played this game and pulled and tried and built as many characters as I have, I can tell you without a doubt, Neuvillette is by far the most powerful C0 DPS this game has to offer. Emphasis on DPS. There are some other pretty amazing characters in this game, sure, but none that I've seen could match his pure destructive power. That power, of course, comes from his overpowered kit. Like any Hydro Catalyst user, with his normal attacks, Neuvillette throws water at his enemies. His charge attack, on the other hand, you knew this was coming. Neuvillette is a dragon, and the creator sure as hell didn't miss any opportunities of that title. Neuvillette's charge attack, the Hydro Pump, Kamehameha, whatever you wanna call it, is straight up exactly that. I seriously don't know how else to explain it. It's a large beam sort of attack with a pretty good range. It takes a lot of time to charge, 4 seconds to be precise, and deals a lot of damage. Do I need to mention this is the highlight of his kit? During the charging up and also the attack itself, Neuvillette hovers over the ground or even water, and you can move around in all directions as well as turn around well over 360 degrees. This attack consumes HP up to 50% max HP and deals 8 instances of damage to every enemy that comes into contact with it. His skill deals pretty decent AoE Hydro damage as well as Numa Align Arca damage, which helps against Fontaine enemies. And it also gives you 3 Dragon Balls. Well, they're actually called Source Water Droplets, but Dragon Balls, am I right? This burst similarly deals AoE Hydro damage, only a little wider and a little higher, centered around Neuvillette with 2 additional instances of follow-up attack called Waterfall. And more importantly, gives you 6 Dragon Balls. Okay, seriously, like I said, Neuvillette's charge attack is the highlight of his kit, so pretty much everything else he has also revolves around it. Yes, these Dragon Balls aid his charge attack. If I had to pick one downside of this ability, it would be that it takes nearly an eternity to charge. Like, what am I supposed to do while waiting for 4 seconds surrounded by level 100 monsters on floor 12? The Source Water Droplets are the answer. When charging your charge attack, Neuvillette absorbs any Source Water Droplets around him, max up to 3, which in addition to healing him almost back to max HP from 50%, also reduces charge up time of his charge attack by 1 second each. Meaning, with the use of his skill, you get 3 Dragon Balls, which can then be absorbed to reduce the charge up time down to 1 second. That's a big deal. Each Dragon Ball reduces the charge up time by 1 second, so since the max number of these that can be absorbed is 3, you have that. But with the proper use of his burst and skill, you can have an almost endless water supply. And guess what? All of these attacks scale on HP, except for the normal and this one sickly version of the charge attack that scales on attack. Neuvillette is one of the most fun to play characters in the game. In fact, he is my current main, which says something coming from an almost eternal former Ayaka main. Why is that? To tell you that, I first have to talk about his best artifact set. The best in slot artifact set for Neuvillette is the brand new set that came with Fontaine, the Marachose Hunter set. With 2 pieces of this set, you get 15% normal and charge attack bonus, really just made for Neuvillette. And with the 4 pieces, you get almost 36% crit rate. Now that makes a lot of sense. Like the Blizzard Strayer said, this set gives you bonus crit rate when certain conditions are met. Those conditions being, whenever the HP of the character with this set increases or decreases, it gives you 12% crit rate. It can stack up to 3 times, so 36% crit rate. And as you're aware, the Dragon Balls heal him and his charge attack consumes HP. So basically, yeah, you'll almost always have this extra crit rate. And for the same reason as with Ayaka, if for any reason it saves me the pain of balancing crit rate and damage, it's an instant green light from me. With this much crit rate from the set bonus, it saves you from having to balance it out while grinding. You can just focus on getting as much as 20% crit rate and then stack as much HP and crit damage as you can. Hell, mine only has 11%. With the way his and how most of Fontaine's character kits deals with forever changing HP, and his unique charge attack makes Neuvillette's gameplay super fun and refreshing. I guess another reason why I switched to Neuvillette is just how saturated I got with playing Ayaka. So he's a nice change of pace that almost feels like hacking sometimes. As for weapons, like most characters, Neuvillette too has many good free-to-play options, but still, his signature weapon being his best in slot. I won't encourage you to pull for it though, cause honestly, after getting cucked by the weapon banner 3 times in a row now, I can't really think anything positive to say about it for the time being. For free-to-play options, the best one you can use, and I do as well, is the prototype Amber. Being a craftable weapon really anyone could get, on a main stat of HP, it really is the ideal weapon if you don't want to invest any primo gems. Plus the passive also gives you a little energy and a little bit of healing for your party. Another good option, though locked behind gacha, is the 4-star weapon, the Wetsuit. main stat being crit damage, it'll particularly come in handy if short on exactly that. But keep in mind that Neuvi scales on HP, so having more HP from the prototype Ember can also be in situations be equally good or even better choice for overall damage. It really depends on what you need more at the time. Also, its passive is a hit or miss gamble with a 1 in 3 chance you'll get something pretty good or 2 in 3 chance
the biggest piece of dog shit.
Another option is the shop weapon Blackcliff Agate, again with the crit damage main stat and a completely useless passive.
Dog shit.
Next up, his team comps. Neuvillette is pretty much a hyper carry, so most of his teams really revolve around maximizing his personal damage. To that end, the best buff for Neuvillette is Neuvillette is a very flexible character that can benefit from a wide variety of character compositions. Since he doesn't scale on attack, that eliminates one of the top buff characters, as well as any characters with these that also buff the attack. But since he scales on HP, wouldn't having another Hydro character be the smarter choice for Hydro Resonance and the extra HP? No, actually. The reason being this particular passive talent. With every reaction with Hydro, Neuvillette gains charge attack damage bonus, stacking up to 3 times for a maximum of 160% damage bonus. Keep in mind that these reactions have to be 3 separate reactions and not just 3 instances of the same reaction, meaning you can't just swirl Hydro 3 times and call it a day. No, you have to do 3 different reactions with Hydro to get the maximum buff. So for most of his team comps, you take 4 different elements for each character. One of which, however, is always common: Animal. Thanks to the Verdus and Werner's 4-piece bonus being a debuff for enemies, it works nicely with Neuvillette's kit. And speaking of animal supports, who better for this position than of course Kazuha? But then that raises a question. He's also getting his rerun along with Neuvillette, so who should you pull for? Well, this is a video for Neuvillette, so I'll for now won't compare their individual importance for your account. So if you don't have him, you can also use Sucrose. Just put the Verdus and Werner set on her and swirl some Hydro before going into action. After that, it's all up to your imagination and your account. Use whatever characters you want that can apply their element from off field. Fischl, Shangling, Miko, Kuki, Kaya, Thoma, hell, I use Nahida. Yes, you can use him in a Hyper Bloom team as well. Just put Nahida in there along with the EM build Electro character like Raiden or Kuki and let your Neuvi hyper carry while your pseudo AFK team does their thing in the background. You can mix and match whatever team comps you like as long as you can keep rocking multiple Hydro based reactions. However, there is a possibility you may need a shielder, as despite a much shorter charge up time thanks to the Dragon Balls, Neuvi is still vulnerable to interruptions and damage from enemies while he's firing his charge attack. So you can also take someone like Zhongli or Layla. You most likely won't need a healer, as Neuvillette will keep healing himself as he fights, and also your party a little bit if you use Prototype Ember. Though there is still someone we haven't talked about yet. It is of course the biggest star of Teyvat, Furina de Fontaine. I know, she is Hydro, so that takes 1 slot, taking away your ability to proc 3 Hydro reactions. But you have to believe me, when it comes to buffs, this lady is the god among gods. I sometimes find her ability even outclassing someone like Kazuha, being capable of buffing even Dendro reactions. Furina's Burst gives you damage bonus whenever your current HP increases or decreases. Again, just perfect for Neuvillette. Not to mention she herself also consumes all of her party members' HP. If you have her, I definitely recommend putting her in your Neuvillette team. Though yes, you will miss out on the full benefits of this passive, or would you? Next up, Constellations. I can't stretch this enough. Neuvillette is the best DPS at C0, period. But what about beyond that? Neuvillette has some pretty good constellations, his C1 being a particularly exciting one. Neuvillette C1 gives him 2 benefits. First being that you always have the first tag of this passive talent, meaning you'll always have 110% charge attack damage bonus, plus you'll not only need 2 different elements to get the full benefit of this passive. If you do decide to go for it and you have Furina, I definitely encourage you to put them in a team together. However, do you need to go for C1? I've already said this many times, but now again, Neuvillette is a monster even at C0, so of course not. A C0 Neuvillette can still benefit tremendously from Furina, and you don't have to feel forced to go for C1. In fact, if you don't have Kazuha, that's where your bluish purple money should be. Don't go for his constellations or his weapon, but for Kazuha at that point. Other than C1 though, most of his other constellations are also decent, with nothing standing out all that much. His C3 uniquely increases his normal and charge attack, and C5 does his burst. His C6 is also kinda insane, as it increases the duration of your charge attack for every Dragon Ball you pick up, giving you an almost endless burst of Ki Blast. Okay, it's not endless, but you tell me what enemy is gonna survive that, except for this. So if you by any chance happen to be a whale or a Neuvi simp, yeah, you can go for a C6. For the rest of us free-to-play peasants, just go for Kazuha or save him for... can't believe Hoyoverse did this to you guys. Like, I know a lot of you, like myself, have been saving, or at least planning to save for Arlecchino since all the way back at the release of the Overture teaser. And if you can trust my senses, I also feel like Farina might get a rerun as well, as soon as in the next patch in 4.6, right along with Arlecchino. Maybe in different phases, but you get the idea. So with that in mind, it's now up to you to decide if you want the daddy dragon or the mommy father. He's not to be underestimated though. He may not be an Archon, but he isn't less than one in any matter whatsoever. This other passive talent follows the Archon tradition of Exploration Aid and increases your party's underwater sprint speed by 15%. Speaking of passive talents, this other passive talent, also scaling on HP, gives Neuvillette 0.6% hydro damage bonus for every 1% of his current HP greater than 30% of his max HP, with which a maximum of 30% can be attained while he's on max HP, of course. So after all that, should you pull for Neuvillette? If you want a great DPS that doesn't require a lot of investment and is easy to build, sure, go for him. What about Kazuha? Well, it depends. Kazuha is an S tier support that honestly makes pretty sizable difference in overall damage with his buffs. Not only that, he's an excellent support for not only Neuvillette but Ayaka, Raiden, Ayato, Child, and a number of DPSs in the game. So if that is what you need, you can go for Kazuha as well. But if you want a top tier DPS, go for Neuvillette. If you want both, well, be prepared to lose your wallet or your night's sleep. So if even after all this you're still in doubt, look, you might have Archons, Adeptives, Yokai, robots, animal people, and many normie humans, maybe even a terrorist.
I have a lawyer.
I have a judge.
But do you have a dragon? Do you? You get it? So if you want to bring a breath of fresh air to your life and your account and massacre all your enemies in style, go pull for him and let the
It's Beckett.
Thanks a lot for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. I make all sorts of videos on Genshin Impact, so if you enjoyed this one, consider checking out my other videos. If you had a good time, subscribe. I also started live streaming recently, so if you can, join me for my next stream. Also, after all this time, I finally did create my socials, so if you'd like, follow me on Instagram. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.